And so, out of curiosity, how would you two quantify speed endurance?
Stuff, yeah, and see,
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
it's different too from our side of like.
But is it?
It's not. It's not.
See?
You're right. It's not.
See?
But
See?
but the bias is different, right? Because we think of speed as like, oh, I don't think of a 40 time. Like I have high school athletes running like 50-meter sprints, things like that. But our focus is more on these like a 600-meter repeat and being able to sustain the speed endurance for not a long distance, but a more of a middle distance type feel. So it's not different, but we've think about it in different durations, I guess, is the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
Because of our changes from a 100-meter sprint to a 1,600-meter run or something like that.
Right. So let me frame it like this. So okay, you just said you have your kids run a 600, right? Okay. So I'm gonna frame it like this. So the premise is 40 meters is the fastest that you can run top end speed, and then you decelerate, right? So either you're accelerating top end or you're decelerating. So we're going to take a 400 divided by 40.
Right.
That's 10 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is another reason why 2 sets of 5. I used to be I teach programming now. I used to be a programmer, so for me, it's very logical, input, output, so there's that too. Literally, went from programming, computers to programming speed. But, so that's why, that's part of why I do this. But I'm going to say this. So part of what I've found is some of my faster kids have soccer in their background.
Okay.
So,
this is good.
Yeah.
We got that
so
too.
you were going to segue?
No, but I wanted you to segue to here.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Perfect.
Well, man,
Perfect.
We're there. We're there. So I got to pull up some notes. I apologize. So repeat sprintability. The reason why I came up with this, it's funny, and I'm going to tell a story. So one year, so I used to do coaching videos. There was a company out of California, and actually did one in Muskego, the jumps one. It's really funny. So if you go onto YouTube and you put in Ajmu Alani and long jump, I have more views on YouTube for just a chunk of that long jump video than the world. Mike Powell is the world record holder.
Yeah.
The views for his coaching video versus mine, it's like it's like 100 and something to like 30,000. It's just, but anyway. So I went out there and I was doing the speed video. This must have been like 2012. So the owner of the company like catches the tail end of this. So he's old school US, I mean, he's seen some good coaches and everything. Just goes nuts. He's like, no one coaches like that. No, what are you doing? Short speed, be fast, and so it just unloads on me. So he's like, where'd you get these ideas from? And I'm like, well, Norway. There was a research, and I'm like, and I do this all the time. I'm capturing data all the time. Right. So I do my best to go back and forth between research and application. So, he's like, oh, that's horrible. So come back to Wisconsin. Jerry Panik, Polish soccer player, he used to work with the Wave, just a legend back in Poland. Sat with them for 10 minutes, broke this down. He's like, oh, you're a genius. This makes sense. So to that point, so soccer, like I said, soccer's in the background of some of my top sprinters, and they have that repeat sprint ability. My phone is not cooperating. But if you actually look at how they evaluate fitness for soccer referees and athletes, it's repeat sprint ability. It's RSA. It's it's not doing it. So
we'll drop the data into the video as well too, so
yeah,
folks can kind of see what we're
yeah,
accessing
please.
and be able
Yeah,
to quantify.
please. Yeah, sorry,
Absolutely.
but it's basically like one is like 10 times 40 with like 30-second with recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was one, I think it was like 6 times 35 with again a very short recovery period. So Camille Davray.
Yep.
Okay. Molly Seidel too. You know, she was fast. She wasn't just, you know,
Yeah.
she ran distance, but I'm sure if you got some sprint metrics, she would have been fast. You know what I mean? But anyway, Davray was one that really made me think about, okay, how does this apply to distance runners? Because what do soccer players have to do? Run real fast, stop. Run real fast, stop. It's a short recovery, and they probably run a couple miles, you know, which drives me nuts. These soccer, you know, coaches, well, you know, we don't really need speed. They need, you know, they need to run 3 or 4 miles. Really? Like, is there a 5K in the middle of the game,
right.
or do you run a 5K to settle a tie score? Run a 5K. Whoever wins the game. No, they're sprinting.
They're sprinting.
Repeatedly.
Yep.
And how do you get those 50-50 balls?
Right.
Getting there first. So, you know, so her transitioning from soccer to cross country all the time, and I think she did double duty, you know, running cross country in the midst of her soccer season, or maybe there wasn't. I don't know how it worked, but she was putting up extraordinary numbers on the track side, and she had soccer in the background. So to me, I don't really see there being a big difference between. So
from a sprints versus distance avenue, right?
Right.
And that's where I think there's the bias from the distance side, that distance athletes and coaches feel like that short stuff's for the sprinters, the longer stuff's for us. When in the matter of fact, it's how long can you run as close to top end speed, right? We talked earlier, a 1,500 meter run is
Right.
a sprint.
It is.
You're running as fast as you can for 1,500 meters, and whoever can sustain that speed the longest is the winner.
Absolutely.
So it's the same theory, just over a different distance.
Absolutely.
And that's where there's this disconnect between the sprinting world and the distance world that there doesn't need to be, because it's the same. It's
Right.
just applying we're adding another 0 on the end of some of the distances. That's
Absolutely, and that's the thing. And so, but that's, you know, that's why from my data collection, you know, Thomas was the outlier, because it's like, okay, you know, and I haven't really captured data on a lot of distance runners, but the fact is, speed is speed.
yeah.
1.19 from a cross country runner or 1.19 from a sprinter, it's still 1.19.
Yeah.
You know what? So my thing is that, okay, how do we train that? And you know, from an engineering standpoint, you talk about criteria and constraints. Well, the constraint is, okay, you can't run longer than 40 meters at top end speeds. That's a limit. So so now within that limit, how can we best leverage things to meet our criteria, which is running fast? And so, you know, I would say, okay, you know what? You want your kids to run 600s. Okay, chop it up, do 30s, or, you know, and break it up, and again, make it quality. Because here's the other thing. So we'll talk about lifting again. So do you do 3 sets of 10 lifting? So let's say you do 3 sets of 10 of lifting, right? We already know, what's that third set going to look like?
Coming apart a little bit, like you got some fatigue in the system. Yeah.
So would you rather have that shaky, you know, non-quality last rep, or would you want to finish strong with quality? You know what I mean? Right. So, you know, for lifting for us, we do a descending pyramid. So let's say we'll do a set of 7, recover, a set of 5, you know, a set of 4, you know, so you're still maintaining quality. Better is more.
Yep.
Better is more. So again, okay, so maybe, so let's say, what would your sprint workout look like? So you have how many 600s or whatever?
So, and it totally depends on.
You're right.
I guess, like,
You're
right.
not on the spot. I mean,
Right,
yeah.
on the spot, yeah. So I'm just trying to think, what would we do? Maybe, like, depending on the athlete, 4 or 5 by 600.
Okay.
Speed's gonna depend on the individual. Like, what would you? Yeah, something you would do.
Yeah, I mean, if like it sort of depends on, like, getting back to what I think speed endurance is in my definition. It's when you have a goal and what limits you is your capacity to sustain that speed as long as you need to.
Yeah.
And like, because for most of our stuff, like, we have the aerobic capacity to cover 2 miles. And we have enough speed to be able to run that pace, but it's how do we bring that ability to cover that much distance and extend that goal pace? I think we talk about, like, you know, everyone talks about threshold and sort of that lactate capacity. But if we increase our top end speed as well too, then all of a sudden that goal pace we have for 2 miles or for 5K feels a heck of a lot easier if we can run 10.11 instead of 10.19.
And we talk about that with marathoners all the time, where it's like the paces aren't that fast, but if you can get faster as a marathoner, then you create a larger buffer.
Of
so
course,
you can
speed
it's
reserve.
easier, more speed reserve. Yes.
Absolutely.
So we talk about it with them all the time too, and it's the same philosophy as you're doing with some of your 100-meter athletes or whatever. Like,
Right. So it's goofy. You know, everybody in the United States, you know, energy systems, energy, and I get that. Okay, we're a chemical concoction walking around. I get that. I get that. However, everybody else, like outside the United States, they already know about RSA. RSA, you know, when I say RSA here, they're like, okay, what UFO just dropped you off, dude? But over there, you know, in fact, I was talking to Nat, you know, initially, I'm like, you know, I thought I was, you know, hitting him with something new, like, hey, what do you think about RSA? He's like, dude, like,
where have you been?
yeah, you're an American. How do you say you're an American without saying you're an American? RSA. So anyway, you know, it's one of those goofy things, though. I think RSA, when you do those repeat 40s, you're in that sweet spot between anaerobic and aerobic development. And so, again, you know, the soccer teams, they use it as a determinant of fitness.
Yeah.
And because I feel like their distance is not that dissimilar from a 5K, I would say, and I do have data, why wouldn't you train like that?
Right.
If the goal is to run fast, then let's run fast. So it sounds like we're saying the same thing and we want the same thing. It's just our approach. And again, I don't know because I don't normally train. But so what I would love to see is, and so I'm going to say this. I've got a buddy that lives in Chiba, and he does the moo work. It's 40 meters, 90-second recovery, 2 sets of 5. And he did it once a week for 6 weeks. And yeah, I'll give you his information. You can talk to him. He's, you know, All-American, great guy, lacrosse guy too. Don't hold that against me. Against us. All right. Hey, I'm good with everybody. But he was shocked. But I was proud of him because he at least gave it a shot. Most, like you said, most distance runners, you say, hey, well, okay. Most athletes, you say, hey, run 40s. No.
Yeah, right.
But I would love to see if you could fit it in 6 weeks, just do it 1 day a week, see what happens.
I think the cool thing is it's a stimulus that even if we're doing some, like, we'll do some short speed days, but it's a stimulus that we haven't touched on with any of our athletes, which means it's fresh, which means, go back to that 80-20, we can get a big gain from a moderate dose of something that's brand new and challenges the system in a new way, and that's going to impact performance.
You said shock the system wrong. I'm kidding. It is a challenge. I actually would be interested to see, well, if you already did it, I'd be interested to see what you would think.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and like you said, you were in pristine condition, not like you aren't now, but do you remember feeling that second set of 40s?
Yeah, it was a different sort of demand than anything I'd ever had to produce. Like, because, it was fast instead of like, oh, like even if we're running quarters and still have to pull off 65s or 66s, very different than trying to get close to maximum force production.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say, don't do it more than 6 weeks. And definitely do not, you know, normally, you know, I'd say, you know, speed on Monday, speed on Wednesday, you need to put a little bit more time in between.
Right.
You know, before you did another speed session, because it does hit the CNS
Yes.
a lot differently.
Yes.
The cool thing I think about that dosing is then there's a space for that, and then it doesn't feel like we have to take away from what else we view in a
No.
conventional distance running week.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think actually it would enhance other aspects of your training. Just
I think
from that
the CNS factor would enhance other aspects of our training for sure, because that's something that a lot of distance runners don't tap into. I did hill sprints with some high school athletes, and they were shocked, like the way their bodies felt, the way they felt like wow, this is foreign territory,
Yep.
and it was because their central nervous system just hadn't been stimulated like that.
Absolutely.
And because they don't lift heavy, they don't do plyometrics, and they don't reach maximum velocity.
So, and that's the thing. Like, okay, so we're talking about distance, we're talking about speed, we're talking about strength, we're talking about plyometrics. We should talk about mental, but that's another day or another topic. But so let's say we're going to take 100%, we're going to chuck it into 4, so 25%. So they're not doing plyos, so now you just threw 25% out the door. They're not doing strength training, so now you're at 50% capacity. You're not doing speed training.
Not doing max velocity, yeah.
You are competing at 25%. And then some programs are like, yeah, we're going to lift, we're going to speed train, we're going to do plyos. Oh, we're going to get that distance in too.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, well, okay, why is Susie beating me all the time? Well, Susie's doing some things that you're not even open to. You got to train different.
And the investment we talked about earlier is talk about a couple days a week of doing some speed work. Like,
If you do it right,
do it right,
absolutely.
it's a smaller investment. I mean,
An
it's
hour?
hard. It's hard. It's an investment, but in the grand scheme of training, man, you get a lot of bang for your buck with that.
Absolutely, but at the end of the day, though, not doing it costs,
yeah.
and doing it costs. There's a cost either
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And, it's funny. Mac Brown is the head football coach at North Carolina. Okay, and he just did a TikTok video. He had one of his players help him do a TikTok video, and he had the dancing and whatever. So he hates dancing. I'm sure he hates being on TikTok, but he loves winning.
Right.
And if he's got to dance on TikTok to get a
a
recruit,
recruit.
as a
Yeah.
5-star recruit, he's going to dance. Nick Saban is he's the head coach at Alabama. He's one of my favorite coaches. Yeah, top 2. But anyway, there's a video of Nick Saban doing the Cupid's Shuffle at someone's house.
Yeah.
He's doing that to get the next 5-star defensive lineman. There's Coach Saban. So if he doesn't do it, he's not going to get him. That's going to cost him.
Yep.
He's going to Cupid's Shuffle because that's what it's going to take.
You got an opportunity cost.
Yeah. So when you talk about that repeats, those repeat 40s, one of my clients calls it lethal. It's lethal training. It hits hard, but he's correct. It feels challenging. However, I bet that he would say though it makes him tougher, and he also likes running fast, so I think he'll put up with that to get that result.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say we're at an hour, so we could be here.
No,
we
that's
could be
good.
here all day long.
No.
I think we should leave some future sessions. For
Oh,
people.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
hit what I really wanted to hit, which was RSA.
Yes. So give people, especially in the distance world, kind of like 1 or 2 things take away from this. Go home, try to implement right away.
Okay.
Nice and quick.
Yeah,
What are
absolutely.
1 or 2
yeah,
things
no,
to implement?
No, we're good. 1, don't be afraid to go into the weight room. Sprint 1 time a week. Do something fast once a week. And I guess that's it. Like I said, plyos, strength training, and then run fast. If you want to run fast, run fast. Don't run slow.
Love it.
Beautiful. Well, we appreciate both the knowledge of the tools and the process and the wisdom of the thoughts behind that and how we create those long-term patterns to build speed and build greatness in athletes in every event. So thank you for the time. We're pumped to keep this going and to pick your brain once again down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Looking forward to the next episode.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys.